In this episode, you will be brought into a raw and real conversation with one of my past clients, Morgan. Morgan has over 25x her revenue in the last 5 months. She went from not paying herself, barely making any profit on any of her products because she just wanted to sell and have those sales start coming, and barely making any online sales, to fully having a consistent process, having consistent huge sales months, really scaling her numbers as well as scaling her profitability. Morgan has over 25x her revenue and over 5x the amount of profit she is able to make by going through the program Product to Profit. She joined in May and we worked together for 3 months to really grow her business, talk about her branding, really up level the visuals that she had, and clarify her messaging on everything she was doing, create a content strategy that really worked for her, and build that ride or die online community. She has now 25x her revenue in 5 months, and she is crushing her sales goals month after month after month. This holiday season just kept on building for her, and it has opened the doors to collaborations and really awesome returning customers and really awesome opportunities for Morgan. I can't wait for you to dive into this episode. Make sure that you follow along on YouTube or Spotify, whichever one feels best for you. Can't wait for you to dive in. Make sure you are subscribed to the Small Business Growth Podcast wherever you are listening. And without further ado, we can dive on in. If you have any questions on the program that Morgan was in, you can come on over to Instagram at This Is Madison Page, and we can chat about that there. We are opening spots in January. We're at the time of recording this, we only have 4 left of the intimate program that she was in called Product to Profit. If you are looking for support, reach out and see if there are any spots left. I can't wait for you to listen to this. If Morgan can do it, you can do it too, with the proper support, with the proper strategy, and the hard work that she put in. I'm so excited for you to listen. Let me know your thoughts and let's dive in. Hey Morgan, thanks so much for being here.
I'm so excited to be here. It's like a full circle moment for me.
I know, I'm so excited to chat with you. We can really get kind of the full picture of where your business was at, where you are now, kind of the journey of it, because there's so many people that were where you were at in spring, in May, and then it feels so out of reach for them. It feels like that growth is just like way too far. But I'm really excited to chat about kind of your journey, what you feel like you changed to really make the big difference. And if you want to start off, just like, what kind of business do you have? Who are you? What do you sell? Give us the full rundown.
Yeah, okay. Hi, I'm Morgan. I own a business called Eterno Lux, and my business is basically pre-loved authentic designer. I started it actually May of 2022. So I've only been in business not even 2 years yet. So coming up on 2 years very soon. But yeah, it has been a roller coaster and I love it, but oh my gosh, it's like the most amazing thing. It
Yeah,
really is.
what got you into the luxury market? Like what got you into like that is where you wanted to start?
I've always had like an interest, right? Like it's always been something like back in like 2014 when like Michael Kors and Coach were like the thing. I was in it. I was like all in. I would take my little paychecks, I would go there and I would buy whatever I could, right? But then I started working in retail. I ended up at Louis Vuitton, and then I realized how backwards everything was
Yeah.
from that side of things. And I was like, how can I continue this without being in this horrible like retail side of things?
Mhm.
So there, it just happened. That's, it just was born.
Yeah, you were like, all right, I'm gonna do this on my own, and we're gonna do the pre-loved, and everything kind of going from there. So you've only been in
Yes.
business 2 years. So you and I worked together starting in May or so. Where were you like in May? Where were you in April that you were like, okay, this is like, I know that this is something, but I need support in how to get there.
Right. So I think the biggest thing with that, December of the year before, I was like about to quit and I was like, okay, like I don't have the funds for this type of business and like I don't have like the traction and there's so much competition and I have nothing really that sets me apart other than like how we talked about
Yeah.
affordability,
Hmm.
which is not the best. So
Not a
after
differentiator.
not a good differentiator,
Especially
and
in
I
the
learned
luxury
that.
market. I was like, girly, let's cut that one out.
No, literally. And So that was like my biggest thing. So it was months of having like, I think one of my like lowest months, I sold maybe like 3 or 4 things and I made maybe like $200.
Yeah.
And that's just like not like okay. That's
No.
not good. And to me, that was considered like a good month. So when I met you, when I came across your podcast,
Yeah.
I was at this point where I was like, to either take this seriously or, give it up. Like it's one or the other. And, it's gonna happen the way it's gonna happen. But I'm gonna regret not figuring out what happens if I try. You
Yeah.
know, what if it all goes great for me and then it works out and everything's great? Or I could just give up now and
Yeah. Call it quits.
screw it, right? Call it quits.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think we talked about the last 3 months before I started with you. I was my total profit for 3 months, I think was literally $1,000 across 3 months, like January to like March. That was it,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is
I
like
remember you saying that
crazy.
because now we've been able to kind of build and we changed a lot kind of in your business. Like, where are you at now? If you don't mind kind of sharing some numbers, you don't need to share exact numbers if you don't want to, but like, where have your sales grown? Because I know at least like the percentage growth in my head. If you haven't done the percentage, I can share that, but go ahead.
Yeah. So for context, in my first 3 months of 2023, I had sold, I think, 20 items,
Yeah.
and that was like $1,000, right? Um,
A
I
thousand
guess in
dollars of
my first,
profitability, $1,000 of
yeah,
profit.
a
Whereas,
$1,000 of profit. So
and
like
I
put that in
think
your head.
that was
That's
one of the
like,
major things that we changed where I was like, no, no, no. Like you're doing all of this work and you're not even really paying yourself for what you're doing. You're just trying to sell it on based on affordability. So your profitability was like one of the first things that we changed. Yeah, that's insane. And
so
I mean, you overall, like your overall income like 20 to 25x in about those 5 months from like the $1,000 like from your revenue from your income and your revenue that you had, but your profitability like totally skyrocketed because you weren't taking any money. Like your income can look really large just because you have really really high like numbered value of per item, like it's like $1,000 bag or a 3,500 bag or whatever. But the biggest point to me is that you are actually able to keep money for yourself now because you have so much more profitability. And how is like the confidence around your business? Because to me, it seems like it's pretty night and day.
yeah, I have a system in place now. I think a very common misconception is that people think that just because I'm selling these expensive things and I say that like, oh, I did 5,000, but like that's what I'm taking home.
Yes,
But it's
exactly.
not. It's a very big misconception. They're like, oh, well, you should be good at that. I'm like, no, it's not. That's not how things work. And like they
Yeah.
see these big sales numbers and they're like, oh my gosh, like you make, so
They see
much, but
10
it's
bags
really
going out of the
not
door
like,
and they're like, oh my gosh, each one of those were $1,000. What?
yeah, people always think that. Now that I have a system in place and like a deeper understanding of like what to do on a day-to-day basis, especially because there
Yeah.
were some days where I would just be like, okay, like let me like take this bag and post a picture and just like hope it works out. Like that was like my strategy. But now, like especially after working with you and within my own marketing degree that I'm working on,
Yeah.
uh, I have such a bigger understanding of what actually needs to go into things. It's
Yeah.
not just like, okay, like here's this, buy it,
Here's this bag. Look
psychology.
how cute it is for sure. The
Yeah.
psychology behind it is huge. And I've just seen that. What do you feel like you've changed that's a little bit more tangible? Like, where do you feel like the majority from where you were at versus like where you are now? What are some of the tangible things that you feel like you've really improved on?
Being firm on my pricing. I
Yeah.
used to take offers. I used to, even when I was literally making $1,000 off of 3 months, I was fully taking offers because I just didn't want to sit on the money. But it's not a bad thing. It's
Hmm.
not a bad thing if you have to sit sometimes to like wait for the right person. Like,
And if it means you're going to make more money.
exactly, right.
Hmm.
It's like, that I think thing, just like you always used to say like charging what you're worth. And that's like my connection to it, like charging what I'm worth.
For sure. And I
uh,
think yours is more arbitrary than the average person as well, because a lot of people that also might be listening, like they have like a very very specific cost or like they're making it and it takes them 5 hours to make that item so they can kind of like factor it in, whereas yours like you have your minute, like you do still have your cost, and then it's like, okay, like where do I want to put it over here? And it's easy for you to be like, ah, like it'll just be $50. So like I'll just put it up a little bit so I can make that sale. But instead of deeming yourself where you're like, oh, like that never feels good to actually sell something like that when you are doing it and you're like, I'm literally giving this away. Like I just put all this effort in, I spent all this time looking for them, and now it's just like, here we go. And so it helps you show up with that more confidence as well when you're like, no, like I know what this bag is worth and I can't do that.
Right. It was a big mindset change for me. I'm very much a pushover. I'm very
A lot of
much
people
like,
pleaser in the room.
yes, I'm very like pushy. And I always say this like on TikTok as well. Like I am like such a pushover and like I'm a sucker for like, treating people the way I would want to be treated as like a
Totally.
consumer or a client. And it
Yeah.
sucks, but it's like I feel like that's like part of my brand now that like somebody else.
Totally, totally, totally. And what you do such a good job is your brand is very warm. And like from working with you, I looked at other people's like pre-loved luxury pages, and to me it just felt so cold and it felt so like unattainable, where I feel like your brand has really, it's welcoming, you're fun, like you have such a cute little personality in your voice, in your messaging and everything that you're sharing. Something that I do feel like we really worked on that allowed you to get some really big collaborations, a lot of like interest in your industry and a lot of people finding you being like, oh my gosh, she knows what she's doing, is your visual element of your brand. I remember coming in and being like, girlie, and you were like, don't even say it. Like, I know what you're going to say. And I was like, we gotta do something with the branding around here. Like, you can't, we need to elevate that. And you were like, I know. Tell us a little bit about that. And like, where was your mindset before we really came up with kind of that like overall brand image that you were looking like? Why didn't we focus on that first?
Yeah, so I'm sure like people who like have seen my page, maybe if someone's seen my page, maybe your past clients, future clients, if you scroll all the way back, it's pretty scary. I say it's pretty scary. It's very like, here's the bag, take a picture on my white wall, or here's like, okay, silk background, or like whatever.
Yeah,
And let me clarify, it's not where I want it to be yet, just because, I think there's always room for growth, but
for sure.
I'm so happy of like the turn that we made.
You've done such a good job.
Minimalist is very popular in my industry. Very minimalist, very like, it is luxury feeling in a way, but I didn't
Very
want it to
clean
be,
girl.
yes, I
Hmm.
didn't want it to be cold because it's like, I always say, I don't want to feel like a sales robot. Like, I don't want to be like, I want people to know me and like know that like I'm a person and like I think of things like behind the scenes. Like I put my heart into this. So
Yeah,
it's like, it's important that that shows through my Instagram. And it's not just like, okay, here's a new bag, like go buy it.
yeah,
It's more like, I'm putting thought into like, we were doing guides together on like, the one I did was like on how to pick like the first color for your first designer bag, like, helping people like curate collections. So it went from more salesy to more like helping people through the experience, which is what I wanted.
for sure. You're like a guide through the experience now of they find you, you're educating. One of my favorite things that you do is the bags that are like kind of unique and kind of like could be ugly on your stories where you're like sharing your personality. You're like, this one's an absolute no. I always love that because I'm not overly like attuned to the industry, but sometimes I'm like, who is buying that? Just because there's a Louis Vuitton on it, I'm like, oh my gosh. And I love that you've shared that personality and like really have that warmth and personality behind your brand as a whole.
Yeah, if I'm not honest, I'm lying. And that's what I didn't want. Like, I don't want people to feel like I'm lying to them and just going for the sale. Like, I want people to feel like a connection and I have like the
Yeah,
best interests for them because I do. Like, I care about all my clients individually
for
and
sure.
like them as people. So that was another big goal for me. And
Yeah,
it gets
yeah, when
harder
you're
as things get bigger, but I try really hard to be like I know you, like I know you would like this, I know you wouldn't like that.
yeah, and you have to be that way too when you are doing like pre-love stuff, is being like, yeah, no, like people need to trust you that it's authentic. They need to trust you that like the condition is there, which is so huge in your marketing and in any marketing, no matter what business you have, is that trust with your audience. And that'll just deepen the community as well. And you have like some ride or die people that are always like, oh my gosh, this is insane. And like when you get new bags, it's like people so excited about it. And that's the really fun part of business too.
It is really fun. I love being able to like, it's like what do they call it? Giving a new life. you
Yeah.
know.
Mhm.
I love that aspect of it too, because it's like it's sustainable, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And you know,
100%.
I think it really helps in a way rather than buying brand new, but you know, it opens new doors for people as well. I
Yeah.
saw someone saying, another seller saying last night that like you never know what is going behind, like, you know, you don't know the story behind that, don't know the story behind the seller. And she was saying how she went through something really traumatic and like she sold everything she had to pay for that traumatic event.
Yeah.
And people buying that, like, you know, like changed her life and it created this huge community for her. And it was like really amazing to see because you really don't know, like, you know,
Yeah.
what the life is going on behind like just your purchase. And it's like, you know, people say support small business, support, you know, my mom, you know, mom owned, you know,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera. But it's true. Like you really never
You have no idea.
know.
And that's the thing is like everybody out there, no matter if you're Hailey Bieber or if you're a small business or if you're an influencer, whatever, like we are all actual real people going through real things that like feel real things. I think it's really easy and to look at a business and be like, oh, here we go. Like, let me put like, and but if you actually add that personality and that human behind the brand, it allows that connection. It's just like I talk about my hormones or like you talk about your experiences working in retail and like things weren't great, but you decided to like come up and over it. And I think that personal touch that you've added and like feeling comfortable with just like sharing your personality, I feel like has made a really big difference in your community, in the connection, in the trust that you build in order to get these like luxury, like the authority there, that luxury level sale.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely, you know, again, the personal connection is like everything for me because, you know, I could hide behind the screen all day and just like be like,
Yeah.
okay, new stuff, new stuff, new stuff, which is great. It works for some people. But like, I just wouldn't be as passionate as I am
Mhm.
without my personality behind it.
For
Because
sure.
it's just
And
me.
that's what it
It's just
comes down to is like what there's a bunch of strategies that do work, but it's like finding the strategy that you feel like this is actually fulfilling for me because you didn't start a business just to like blindly run this business and not actually feel fulfilled by it. So to have like that overall fulfillment is really fun.
yeah, no, totally.
Do you feel like there was something like a major takeaway that was like an aha moment where you were like, oh, like that is something that I really haven't done that I really need to focus on? And that's kind of putting you on the spot. If you like remember something.
When we specifically talk about, you said to me, we talked about being like a Vogue magazine online. Like you want people to look at your page and they want them to feel like they're looking at Vogue. And that for me, like I still think about that all the time. Like that's something that like, you know, it's hard in my industry because there's no like right or wrong way to do things. You know, I feel like, you know, I'm gonna say you always want what you can't have before I say
Yeah.
this. You always want what you can't have. You know, I feel like a lot of people, if you sell like jewelry, you know, it's like, okay, you can post it here, you can post a picture of it here, you can post a picture of it on. But for me, there's no like real like blueprint in a way. Because
Yeah.
it's a bag. It can be worn so many different ways, and not all of them are like visually appealing to take a photo of, you know? Like you gotta have to make that all fit in an aesthetic. And I was like, how can I utilize this to my advantage? And when you said Vogue, it like something like clicked, and I was like, ooh, that's so true.
Yes, well, and you have to create the scene that your people want to be shopping in. Because like especially in your industry, in any industry, you have to create like set that scene that like what people are looking for. Like people don't go into people that would be buying luxury handbags. If they go into Goodwill and they found one, it wouldn't feel as much of a luxury experience than if they bought one in store or if like Vogue had a pop-up shop and they were selling these things. And it's because people want that experience through buying, especially when they're buying something that is a luxury item to them. But in anything, like even if it's a $20 item, like to some people, that is like people are excited about buying themselves anything. And so giving that experience and kind of even just like like how magnetizing your profile is, which you've found through kind of creating that image, creating that aesthetic, creating that overall brand identity behind your brand with all your strong values. And it's not just the visuals. You've done a really good job of like instilling those values that we've already talked about, is that personal touches and the authority there and the things that you like and the things that you don't like. It's not that you have to like everything just because you're trying to sell it. Um, People find you and they're magnetized to you, as we've seen through the collaborations that you've been offered and like some of the immediate like impressions that you make on people and other businesses. And that that aesthetic has a bad rap right now is because people are like, I just don't want it to have to be curated and it can't be perfect. But 90% of people are visual and they are magnetized to that, which is why on your feed you do want that magazine kind of feel. Put the information that would be in Vogue out there because the people that are reading Vogue are your ideal customers. Find where your ideal customers are and make it feel familiar to them from there.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I use my feed as more like that aesthetic part of it and like setting
Yeah.
the tone. And I
Hmm.
like to use my stories as like more of like a combination between talking about products and like being myself.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's like your own little personal diary that you're able to share your personality, get that connection with other people. And I love your stories. You do such a good job of like, you have just like fun. Do you like this? Do you like that? Like, how are we styling this? Like, what are our thoughts on this new line? Like, this is kind of ugly. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I love it, especially from somebody that is like, and you are the first person that I've been fully like immersed into the luxury. And it's so funny now that I'm like I get like YSL, like ads. I get all sorts of ads because I'm always engaging with you and talking with you. I'm like, oh
You
man,
always say that to me.
she's
I've,
corrupted me now.
I've literally heard that, not even like trying to exaggerate, 10 times last week. And they're like, oh, I saw your live and now all I see is the other lives. And I'm like, oh, like
Yeah.
I just work here.
Sorry. I'm just here. It's so funny. I love it. And honestly, it's been a fun. I'm like, ooh, maybe I do need some more of these luxury bags. They're so fun. What would you say to people that are in that kind of like that frustrated spot that you were at where you were like, I can either close up shop on something that I really want to do because it's not working and I'm getting frustrated with it. What would you say to people that are at that point? Because I know a lot of people listening are like, I just wish that I could 20x my income or I could 5x my profitability of my business because it would really be life changing, but it feels so out of reach for them.
I would say the same thing that I told myself. For transparency, when I started PTP, I was not in a position, I did not have that full amount. I've
Yeah.
never seen that full amount in my account. I was nowhere near ready to invest in that.
Yeah.
But again, like I said earlier, what if I didn't try and like didn't find out? Like, can you imagine how many doors like would have been closed for me if I hadn't taken that? And that sounds very like, okay, like do it. But like I literally like I tell you all the time, like I don't know what I would have been doing right now if I hadn't done it, you know? Like you
Sure.
I always said to everybody who knew, I said it's like a speed run to my degree. Like I'm just like powering through it. She has all the knowledge, she has all the tools. It's
Mhm.
just giving me that knowledge early, right?
Yeah.
Like things that I hadn't thought of and like having like your brain like in my business, it was like, like it was so collaborative and like good to like hear, like some validation that I needed
Yeah.
on certain things. And we had some tough situations, but
Totally.
like to have your eyes and like, like looking at what I was doing,
Yeah.
I would have never, when I got that call from TikTok, do you remember that day that
Yes,
I
which we
called
haven't
you?
even talked about. I didn't know if it was something that we wanted to
Yeah,
talk about or
we
not. I
can
haven't
talk
thought
about it.
about
We can talk about it.
it.
But yeah, when I got that call, I just like the first thing I told you, I was thinking the whole time while I'm on the phone with TikTok, and they're like, your page is amazing. I'm like, literally, like, I'm like, I wouldn't have changed anything if Maddie hadn't been like, ooh, like, if I didn't have,
Woo.
'cause I was just happy with like how things were. But when I brought your eyes into it, I was like, ew, like, don't look. I know it's bad because I knew it was bad.
Mhm.
But having you keep me accountable in that sense and like get me on track to where things look good, that's what opened that door for me, really.
For sure. So to catch everybody up, TikTok called Morgan, just like called her up over here and was saying how much she loved her profile and they wanted to kind of collaborate with her on on a thing through the holidays and some of that and that really propelled her growth and they loved her profile, her content, the aesthetic that she had, the values that she was sharing and they really trusted her pretty much immediately and they were like, "Here, let's work together." Which is crazy. To get a phone call from any social media platform is insane. And I think it's really cool that TikTok has that level of personability with their creators because you literally can't even try to contact Instagram or Facebook at all. Like
At all.
your account gets deactivated, which we can also talk about. But your account gets
Oh my
deactivated. It's like,
gosh.
how do I even contact this? So it is cool of TikTok, but they found you through your aesthetic, through your values, through your content, and it was impressive to them that they wanted to collaborate with you, and like work with helping your business, and you were helping them on some things, and it was really cool.
Yeah, it was amazing. He reached out through Instagram via my now account manager, and he was like, "Hey, I work for TikTok, blah blah blah." And I was like, "Yeah, you can email me, buddy."
Yeah, you're like,
It's
yeah,
like,
right,
he
okay.
was like, "Can you call me?" And I was like, "Yeah, all right, whatever. Here's my email." And I was like, "Whatever,
Yeah,
this
you're like,
guy's
there's no way this is
phony."
true. Yeah.
Like then like he convinced me to get on a call, and like ever since it's just been like up. Like
Yeah, so
I
cool.
mean, I just like it's constant and it's amazing, you know. But
It really takes, I call that the hockey stick moment. Somebody that I didn't come up with that. Somebody came up with that, and one of my like mentors, where it's like you're going, you're going, you're going, and then you hit
mhm,
this point, and all of a sudden you're like, finally, and then it just keeps kind of growing from there. And like that was your hockey stick moment. We had been working so hard. You've been crushing your content. We really worked on expanding your visuals, getting you solid with like what content and your messaging you were putting out there, the overall visuals, like really making drawing people in through the messaging, through your values, your personality, building that community, that an external third party platform was like, oh my gosh, we want to work with her, which is so, so cool.
yeah, especially someone as big as TikTok, it kind of like came to me like, oh, like maybe I am doing something right. And like you were saying, like everything falls into place the way that it should. Think about May, right? We're here with May, and then like I'm scared to invest and like, do it
I
for
remember the
myself.
day you reached out to me and you were like, okay, just give me a couple of details. You were
I was
like
like, yeah, just like
going
just be
in.
honest. Then May, and then we started June, July, August is when it ended. End of August, my Instagram got deleted. That was like a whole nother thing, and that was like torture. That's like all I can really say about that. That was literally
It was
torture.
literally like the day after the program ended.
Yes, and I was like, great,
You're like,
awesome.
now what do I do? I was like, don't worry. Let's chat really quick. Like, I'm not gonna leave you hanging.
And then I was like MIA for 2 weeks. None of my clients could find me. I had no backup account. And then my Instagram gets reactivated. And then a week later, TikTok reaches out. Like literally everything like that fell. Like it was like dominoes. It was so
Yeah.
weird.
Well, and it
And
was
I was
funny
kind of
because
like,
even when your Instagram got deleted, you were like posting your bags elsewhere, just like kind of trying to keep things rolling, like not knowing what was happening. And like sales still kept coming in. Cause I remember you saying, even with my deactivated accounts, like I've sold 5 bags or whatever this week.
yeah, it was
And then
like
your account
weird.
came
I was
back, and
like,
then TikTok was there. It's just like boop, 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 kept on going. It's so fun.
and I was so adjusted to like if I wasn't posting, like I wasn't selling. So like when I my whole thing, like everything that I built gets deleted, of course I'm gonna be like, oh my gosh, like it's actually done
Oh my
for.
gosh, that
And they
is
were
like
they
the
were like,
worst
no,
nightmare.
no, we're not like reactivating that. Like screw you. I filed 3 appeals. They were like, bye. And then,
Like yeah. Oh my gosh.
I thought it was done for.
Yeah, I did too. And you were just like, I'm gonna hop over on this other account, and like people, you started to work, and now you have a backup account just in case. Like, hey, here
Right.
we
Just in
go.
case, just in case.
That is like a worst nightmare of pretty much any business owner on social media, that like, oh my gosh, it can totally be, which is why we have email lists, why we have multiple platforms, because then at least your most like popular people can still find you. Um,
Right.
but I really feel like your overall transformation is so big because you came in, you were like not confident on your pricing, not confident to be able to like really show up as who you were. And I think the point that you made, that like it's almost like when you were a kid and like you're like cleaning everything up, and then you like call mom in and you're like, oh wait, shoot, like I still need to clean this and I still need to clean that. Because you're like, that like what someone else would want, but like in your own head, sometimes you're like, bah, it's fine, like I can push it on. But when
Right.
I came into your business, all of the things, and I have this already, like people that are signed into January are already like, Maddie, the amount that I've gotten done in the last 2 weeks to prepare for you to even look at my business is so funny, because I know it's bad. Like I'm already making the actions that I know I need to take. And sometimes it takes that like that shift. It takes that somebody else's eyes to be like, this is not like you. I know that we both know, like you and I both know, like let's make some of this changes here. And you were like, yes, I know, I know, I know. And it was like within 24 hours, you sent me a mood board. You're like, how can we create this? And I was like, okay, let's get on this. Let's take some pictures. Like, you need to start you doing these other things. And
Right.
sometimes it takes that like external person, which is why if you don't have somebody in your life, like, and I know you have entrepreneurs that are close to you, but if you don't have somebody that's like a third party, or like, it's nice to have a partner that you can talk to this about, but sometimes it's nice to just somebody else to say it, somebody else to come in and look at the strategy and the visuals and all of that too.
Right. I'm lucky that I have that support system, but in a way too, like for context, like my boyfriend's business, it's cars. Like it's a
Yeah.
whole different like
Yeah.
industry. Like you can't
Mhm.
even like compare it. You
Yeah.
know, the things that he would say to me, like it doesn't always apply to me. So it's so nice to have that. And like, you know, I'm lucky in so many ways that I have people like that close to me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know,
And
what's
you can
good
like
for them
enable
may not
each
be good
other
for you.
sometimes where you're like, ah, it's fine. You can get by with it. Or like, oh, like your stuff looks great. Like, what are you talking about? Where like they're not going to give you, they're not always going to give you that like same level of like, like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
Lovingly as always. But it is sometimes like that is my role to come in and be like, oh my gosh, here we go. Like, let's try to figure something out here.
Right. The honesty is important and the accountability is important because if nobody's gonna do it, if people are gonna just like spoon feed you forever, you're never gonna get anywhere. And
Yeah.
that's true in like literally every part of life. That if you're being spoon fed, you know what you want to hear and like, you know, what people think is best for you, how can you grow?
Yeah.
And I think that's important to like, you know, it's like self-reflecting. I had to
For
sit there for a while and be like, how can I make this work for me?
Yeah. And that's really what it is it's like it's customizing it to work with your life and like how you want to operate a business. It's like you learn that big time strategy. I liked your what did you call it? It was a speedway or a speed round to like
Speed
get
run.
speed run of all of the information that you need to know. It's like here's all of this speed run of information of strategy and now let me look at it and like okay, there's all these things that I can do that she said is going to work. What feels really good for me to really change? And when I have people sometimes be like, that's not something that I really want to do. I have a lot of people that are like, Maddie, I don't want my face all over my social. And I'm like, okay, there's pieces of it that we do need. Like people need to know at least who you are, but like we can share personality without your face. Let's like adjust that. So you have to like come to the strategies, learn, see the strategies, and then we can customize it to what really feels good to you to run your business.
Right. And I'm not the perfect PTP, you know, client. I'm not, because you
I
know
don't think
what, a
there
lot
is.
of the things that we did, like, you know, I kind of did abandon them, especially when I rebranded. I kind of did abandon them, okay. I will admit.
I kind of
But
forgot about some of those other projects. You can always bring them back though. We have like you have so much fun, so many fun things that you can always bring back if you ever are like, "Ooh, that's a good idea."
right, I kind of revamped like the one thing that we worked on together, like, you know, side projects. We did a lot of side projects with Maddie and I, that were kind of things that we could incorporate rather than just being buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell, you know, and
And I think that was
trying to
pre-TikTok where it was like figuring out the fun areas that you were really excited about.
did I lose you? Okay, we're
Sorry.
good.
That
All
was like
right.
pre-TikTok before you had kind of the momentum on TikTok there to be able to kind of springboard everything else that you were doing. And now you've been like
Right.
consumed with the buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell.
Yes, it's never ending, but you know what? It's a blessing and a curse. And I used to say, I used to always pray like that I could be here one day. And like,
Yeah.
you know, I used to see videos of like business owners packing up their orders in a big bag and taking it to the post office. And I did that for the first time the other day. And I was like, what's
It's like that
happening?
holy shit moment. You're like, oh my God, wait, I like dreamt of this like a couple of months ago and it's like it's
No,
happening.
literally. I was like literally like sitting there in the post op and I was like looking down at my bag and I was like, I have like 8 orders in here, which sounds really like small from
Yeah.
from like, you know, if you're selling like smaller priced like items or like, you know, but like 8 orders to me is like sold out, you
And
know,
in like
like
a
that's not
weekend.
feeling
Yeah, that's
sold
awesome.
out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like a full
But
collection. That's so cool.
but yeah, it's great. It's a great feeling. It's
Good.
not impossible.
No, it's not impossible. It's not impossible at all. All right, what would you say? What are your like last kind of words of wisdom for somebody that is struggling with their business? They're kind of where you were in May and they're like on the precipice. They might be wanting support. They can be wanting support or they know that they need somebody out there, but they're nervous. They're sitting on the sidelines being like, maybe I should just shut this business down instead.
I would say change what you can within yourself. Take the things that you can control and control them. But when it comes time and you can't control it anymore, that's when you reach out. You
Mm,
know, that's how I was. I was like, okay, I feel stuck, but you know what? I needed a mindset shift. And that's why I came to
yeah.
you. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay, let's do it, you know?
I
And
think
that's the
that's a
push I
really good
needed.
point. is like you learn what you can learn, you're implementing the things, you're seeing if you can do it. And then at the point that you're like at a breaking point where you're like, I've literally feel like I've tried everything and it's still just like the momentum is just not there. I don't understand. That's when it is. And I'm not somebody that's here to like push like you need a mentor at all times and everybody needs a business coach. Like there's plenty of people out there that would say that, but I don't think that's the case. And even when people are done working with me, I'm like, go and implement. Like I don't want you to feel like you need me forever. Go and implement and come back when you have questions. And I think that's a good point to make where it's like if you are at that breaking point, if you're feeling like I have literally been struggling with this forever and you're like, I want this to be the year. I know that my products are awesome. I know that I can do this. This is the dream life I want to live. Like there's no reason not to.
Right, exactly. It's just you do what you can with what you've got, and then when you don't got any more, you give it to other people to do it for you.
Yeah, come on in and help me out. Morgan, where can people find you? Where can they shop your luxury bags? Because that's what everybody's gonna want to do
Oh my
anyway.
goodness.
What's your
Yes.
Instagram, your TikTok, all the things?
My Instagram is Eternal Lux. It's spelled ETERNELLE. Listen to that back if you need to. It's a mouthful.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much I'm everywhere on the same thing now, especially TikTok. I go live pretty much every night almost. But we have
Woohoo.
fun. We have fun on there. Very fun. But yeah, that's mostly where I am right now.
So good. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Morgan, for sharing your story. I'm so excited about your growth. Do you have anything that's next for you? Are you like, this is what's going on? Or are you just gonna kind of keep climbing? I know you have things in the works that we're not chatting about yet, but what's your looking forward into the new year? Do you have anything fun coming?
I am just more developing a team now. I have people,
Nice.
I need help.
You.
It's, a complete 180. So right now it's team development and we're looking at spaces to maybe move into somewhere because I'm
Oh.
out of room.
Oh my gosh. I know. When I see your like shelves of all your bags, I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so fun. Do you just like stare at them sometimes? I feel like I would go downstairs and just like observe.
Yeah, sometimes I just like, I keep some behind me. I don't know if you guys are watching YouTube, you can see I keep some behind me to like stare at them because they're so pretty, but like
Like
it's
aspirational.
really hard.
Yeah.
I keep them. I'm like, oh, it's hard.
Oh, I love it. Oh gosh. Well, thank you so much, Morgan. I know everybody listening
Yeah,
is feeling very inspired by your story. They can see that it is possible for them. That's so nice. Thanks for being here.
thank you.
Oh my goodness, how wonderful was that? Thank you so much for listening to Morgan's conversation with me. And her growth has just been so much fun to witness and see. If it's possible for her, it's possible for you with the proper strategy, with the proper support. If you are in the spot she was in May, where she was stuck, she wasn't even really paying herself, she wasn't really even making enough profitability to make her business worth it. She wasn't making sales to make her business, had to have her business be worth it. And truly just kind of struggling on social media. If that is you right now, we have the exact same program that she went to that she was able to 25x her revenue in just 5 months. We have spots available for you right now. Come on over to our Instagram at This Is Madison page. You can DM me PTP if you are looking for support in getting consistent growth online. I cannot wait to support you. If you are going all in on these goals, wanting to massively grow your business, this is the point for you to get to consistent sales. If you're looking to scale your sales, we have options for you there as well. Come hang out with us at This Is Madison page. Send us a DM and I would be happy to help you kind of go through that process of finding the support option that makes the most sense for you. Thanks so much for listening. Make sure you are subscribed. 75% of you are not subscribed, but yet you come back every single week. So make sure that you're subscribed on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed on Spotify or Apple, wherever you listen. And come on back. We will have a lot in planned on 2024 as well. Come say hi on Instagram at This Is Madison page and reach out if you are looking for support options. I can't wait to chat with you and I love you. I'm rooting for you and I'm in your corner always.